Yo, what is going on today, guys? I am back here for another video. So 10 days ago I recorded, and then 8 days ago it was uploaded, and I made a video basically giving out a statement that I thought this meta was way better than Triumphant Light, and that was probably the worst take I've ever had in my life on this game. And I'm basically here to say that I no longer believe that this meta is better. I think this meta actually might be the worst meta we've ever had. So I still do believe we do have more like playable top tier decks slash like goodish decks, at least in rank. Like you have Giratina, Darkrai, Gyarados, Manaphy, you have like Meowzone, you have the Mewtwo Giratinas, you have the like the 1 out of like 20 Zards. You know, obviously Zard pops off if you don't brick. And then we have like the Rampardos players who like continue to play that deck. So like in Master Ball, like top tier, we have like 5 decks I constantly see in like the top 3,000. But like, so like technically we have more decks I feel like I'm seeing than like in the top of Triumphant Light, where like I feel like it was mainly just Dialga Arceus and then Rampardos. But the thing about this is I believe that these decks in Shining River are just way worse. I feel like they're just not fun to play against. So our first defender, bro. Let me just switch off this Bulbasaur background real quick. So obviously first defender, Giratina Darkrai, dude. So biggest tournament of the week, we have the Ursi Days. If you're familiar with the competitive side, you should know that tournament name by now. Yeah, so let's just look at the standings. 1 through 18 already. Let me just move myself to the right side real quick, because you don't really need to see the numbers. So we already see 2 million Giratina Darkrai's. We have like the 1 Giratina Magnezone, bruh. We have the 1 Blastoise, which somehow just, you know what, like Blastoise, like I've already said it, bruh. Blastoise, if you do get set up, can't beat the stack problem getting it set up. This person obviously got extremely lucky and never really bricked, it looks like, and was able to get 5th place with Blastoise. So that's an amazing achievement, bruh. But Darker Giratina, like I said, the occasional Zard, the Meowzone didn't brick, got up here. Gyarados also didn't brick, got up here. But like, yeah, you see the other occasional variants like a Masquerade Beedrill ended up getting top 24, pretty cool. But like, dude, like 99% of this is just Giratina Darkrai, bro, for the top 64. You have the Skarmory Magnezone, you have a couple more Meowzones down here. You have another Gyarados at the very bottom. But like, it's just, we're at a point, dude, where like Giratina Darkrai is just becoming that deck where everyone's just like, okay, last week, let's just play the best deck. Let's just play the most consistent deck. And it's just not fun. It's just simply not fun anymore. Because like, at least like, if you think about it, like Triumphant Light, bro, we think about Dog Arceus. For the most part, that deck played Mew and Shaman as like other staples in the deck. And if they open with either Mew or Shaman and didn't have a Leaf, bro, that was a pretty heavy brick on their end. And that actually literally could cost them a game. And because you have to waste the energy to swap them out, that actually could like let you be able to actually beat that deck. But like something like, or like if they start Arceus, dude, like if they start Arceus going first and they don't have like be able to like Leaf out, they're gonna have like 1 Arceus for that game. If like, as long as like you actually get like a playable hand as well. Or like Darkrai Giratina, I mean, they start Giratina, they just ramp it up. They start Darkrai, they start chipping and ramping it up. It's like there's just no bad card to start with. The only time the deck sucks is like if you start Darkrai and then you don't get Giratina for like the first 3 turns. But let me just move back to the other side. But then we just have stuff like here, like we have like Gyarados, bro. Gyarados isn't fun to play against. It's just simply not fun to play against. Also, one thing is like we don't really have a deck that takes skill. The only time like I feel like Giratina Darkrai actually takes a little bit of thought and like you have to like think when you play the deck is like against the mirror match, just because like 1 energy management actually can like screw you up. Like, but besides like the mirror match, the deck is very very easy to play, I feel like. But then we have like Gyarados, Manaphy, dude. Manaphy in the active spot, you ramp up the Origin Palkia, you ramp up the Magikarp. You don't have Gyarados, you attack once, twice. Use the Gyarados. Like you maybe just auto win with a Misty. It's just not fun deck to play against. It's actually very hard. It's just very hard. Or like, God forbid you playing the mirror match, they put a Rocky Helmet on their Gyarados. You don't have a Rocky Helmet or a Giant Cape, and you have to go into the Gyarados. You can attack them, but like they're probably gonna have the red. So it's like it's just not a fun experience, I feel like, playing against Gyarados. Then this Gear 2 Mewtwo, very similar to Darkrai, except instead of chipping you, Mewtwo just gonna do a big blast, similar to Giratina, so they're gonna like tackle Giratina, get a knockout, and tackle Mewtwo, boom, game over. I actually don't find Mewtwo Giratina as offensive. I actually think the deck is fine. Like I don't really mind playing against it that much, but it's just not. It's not even played that much. It's like it just has like 6% like in tournament results, but like actual like ranked, dude, like you actually really just don't see it that much. Like at least in like top 3 files, bro. I feel like I faced like 1 out of 40. Maybe I'll jinx myself. Maybe I'll start playing against it a bunch of the day because the game's listening to me. But my personal opinion, I don't play it often. Gallade Hitmonlee, dead, dude. I maybe play this deck like 1 in 200 at this point. I actually like this deck. This is probably like my favorite deck. If I could still play it, I definitely would. Problem is Giratina can just destroy you. You just have to not brick. You literally need to go in the Gallade. Everybody in High Master Ball kind of like knows how to play around Gallade and not put like overcharge energy. I mean, Darkrai is just very good. I mean, once you get Dark, if he was like second with Darkrai against this deck, like you literally just knock out these Hitmonlees and like the Morph Shadows like pretty fast, and then like you just have like the Giratina in the back. Pokemon Center Lady counters Hitmonlee, so Hitmonlee is not that good sometimes. Plus like a potion, plus a giant cape. There's just like a lot of things that can go wrong for Gallade right now, so it's like no one really plays it. And then we have like Dogger Arceus here, it says, but like no, I'm gonna be honest, bro, nobody plays that deck. The only Arceus variant, bro, is like literally Carnivine Arceus, which is good, but like it's not super fantastic, bro. I'm gonna be honest, like it's definitely playable in Masters, but like it's like I don't know, it's one of those decks that like also brick, because like you kind of like want the early Carnivine, but then you also need the Arceus. But then like you get one and you don't get the other, or sometimes you go first, you get the Arceus lead, you don't have a leaf to swap out, you take free damage. Oh, you start like Rotom, but then like the Rotom's not really doing anything. Like Tony Ping, bro, like the potions in the Pokemon Center is just like kind of like counter that. Deck's alright, extremely like it's good if it's like works, but it just bricks. Then we have Darkrai Revolve, bro. I barely see it. I think I play like 1, dude, in like the last like 5 days of ranked. We have Rampardos, pretty actually common, dude, because Rampardos is very simple, bro. You put your Lucario, you put your Sudowoodo, you put your Mark Shadow down, you get the Skull Fossil, you go in the Rampardos, you're probably winning the match. If you don't get Rampardos, you're probably losing the match. It's just a very aggressive deck. It's just very easy to play, so I feel like that's why a lot of people just like still play it. Plus, you know, it's like 3 non-EXs, so like some of these decks, like for example, Gyarados doesn't really like to play against it, because Gyarados would rather just get 2 knockouts, because for example, like Lucario could easily knock out a Manaphy, Marshadow could do heavy damage, and then like Rampardos could get the final hit for the Gyarados to knock it out. So just like something like that. But yeah, basically this meta sucks. At least in like, if we look at least in like Triumphant Light, we have these 2 dominant. We had Articuno as well, but like stuff like Leafeon, Celebi, Gallade, like Palkia decks, Darkrai Revolve, like Executor Celebi to an extent. I really don't personally, I don't think that deck was that good, but like some people were still playing it. And then we had like the Crobat Arceus with the Darkrai's. We had the Executor Arceuses. We had the Arceus Carnivines, kind of like the same thing. We had like Greninja Arceus, which is not really that good, but like we had Gyarados, which is also popping up at the end, but it is kind of down here. We had Lucario. I don't know why that's different, but whatever. But I just feel like we had more decks that were kind of like fun to play in Triumphant Light. We're like Shining Reverie, bro. Like I don't know, dude. Like I personally don't enjoy like any of the decks that are playable. The one I like the most is like Meowzone. But the thing about Meowzone is like, okay, if you brick, dude, you kind of just cooked, because you have like a bunch of things that just don't do anything unless you get to the final evolutions. And one Mars just like ruins the day, bro. Like if you search for Spiggarito, one Mars, boom, you lost everything. And it's just not a good time. Yeah, so basically I just wanted to make this updated opinion. We're basically like 1 week away from the new pack. I just wanted to update my opinion on what I think the meta is. I think this meta sucks. I just don't think there's a fun deck to play, and that's personally Darkrai Giratina, bro. I was just getting to a point where it's like I'm just kind of like sick of it. I'm sick of it. I also don't like the Gyarados. And Rampardos, bro, is whatever. Rampardos is just annoying when they go in the Rampardos, because like my opponent always has the Skull Fossil for some reason, but if I play the deck, I never get the Skull Fossil, so it's kind of like one of those decks that's just kind of annoying, because it always seems to go right for your opponent. And then Meowzone, I don't really have a problem with Meowzone. It just seems like my opponents are always super lucky as well, and they always have like a Magnezone right away. Apparently they just have a brick. But yeah, anyways, that's just my updated thoughts and opinions. New week away. Hopefully something in the new set can change the game up. Also, by the way, I don't think the biggest offender actually is Giratina Darkrai from this set. Definitely the best deck. I think one of the decks, or I think one of the cards that actually changed the meta, bro, I think Red. I think Red is the reason a lot of the decks just cannot be played right now, because like they easily just get one shot. So while I do think Shining Reverie like gave us Giratina, which is definitely super broken, I think one of the cards that definitely changed the meta for the most part was the introduction of Red. So it's still Shining Reverie. Obviously, still Shining Reverie's meta sucks, but maybe if we didn't have Red, dude, maybe stuff like Leafeon Celebi could still be relevant. As you know, Geo would not be able to one-shot them if they had full HP. So yeah, I think one of the biggest offenders from this new set was Red. While I do think the card is a cool addition, I definitely do think it made so many EX Pokemon that were previously like alright, like mid tiers slash like maybe like lowish high tiers, just complete like almost unusable, to be honest. Anyways, that's my opinion. Anyways, like I said, that's it. Peace out and have a lovely day, and let me know what you guys think in the comments.